So this past weekend, Team Liquid did something incredible. They won ESL One Cologne, considered by many to have the same prestige as a major. And along with that, they won the Intel Grand Slam, a feat that only took them 63 days to accomplish compared to that of Astralis, who took 232 days to, of course, win the first season of the Intel Grand Slam last year. This was also by them winning their last 3 tournaments in a row, or, 4 out of the last 5 played. And also with this, they have solidified their own era in CSGO history. Now, where you want to actually say it started, we'll debate later on. And of course, it's not over yet. We're living in the middle of it. But they have done so much this past weekend. They've accomplished so much. They will now go down as the best CSGO lineup in North American history. Of course, second to that will be their previous lineup with Taco, had their own slew of top 4 finishes and finals appearances. And it's just a crazy accomplishment for these players, a crazy accomplishment for North American Counter-Strike, really. And it was fitting to see Elysian Nitro be the ones to kind of finish it off on that final map in the grand finals against Vitality, because these are 2 players who have been playing for the Team Liquid organization for so long now, like going back to 2015, basically. So many years, many days, many tournaments played, many land maps completed. And now they finally start to live up to what they've been hoping to accomplish through all that time. Finally being the #1 team in the world and creating all this history for this lineup and for these players. And so it's really great stuff. And so what I want to do in this video is talk a little bit about, obviously they're winning ESL One Cologne, but really just kind of focus on what this team's accomplished so far in 2019, how they've gone on to solidify an era that is still, growing from this point forward, especially if they can keep, getting big tournament finishes, and just, how crazy it's really all been, and really how dominant it's all been. I mean, some of the numbers that this team's putting up when you think about their results, their map pool, some of their individual player statistics is really crazy stuff. Obviously it's not necessarily what Astralis was last year and how crazy their statistics were, but if they can keep this up, if they can keep this momentum, especially considering kind of the Counter-Strike landscape right now, it seems like it's really possible they would. They really will start contesting for maybe one of the best CSGO lineups of all time. Forget just North American Counter-Strike history. They really could try to challenge for top 5 team of all time or something like that. So this is really crazy stuff. And so we'll start with Cologne, might as well. This is, of course, their most recent tournament finish. And essentially started out with kind of a rough game against MVP of Korea on Nuke. It was a 16-14 win, so it wasn't that convincing, but at least they got the job done. They then had a really close series with the new look Na'Vi. Now, Na'Vi is a team they've always had a really good head-to-head history against. It's probably their best head-to-head matchup. And they had a close series here, but they wound up winning it 2-1. They then went on to beat kind of their North American rivals, I guess you could say, Energy, a team that they've always, usually been able to beat. Maybe in the past, last year, there was a couple times Energy got the better of them, but more often than not, Liquid's been able to kind of maintain their status as #1 team in NA and kind of beat up on some of the teams that play within the region. And it was no different here. Obviously, a new lineup with Energy bringing in Stanislaw as the in-game leader for DAPS, but it was really the same result. And so they topped their group. They then go on to play Na'Vi in the semifinals, a rematch from the group stage where they 2-0 them this time around, so a little bit more dominant performance this time from Team Liquid. And then they go into the best of 5 against Vitality. They win their pick overpass. They lose a very close game on Dust 2 and Map 2. They go on to win Inferno, pretty dominant fashion. Then they go on to win Mirage as well to win the series 3-1. Very nearly 3-0 this series. At Dust 2 was very close. We may not have even had to go Mirage if a couple of rounds go differently. But all in all, a very dominant performance here from Team Liquid. They only dropped 2 maps the entire tournament. So really great stuff by them. Again, this is off the back of having just won the EPL Season 9 finals, so they're toppling people like Astralis, Mousesports, and G2. And then, of course, DreamHack Masters Dallas, where they beat up on Furia and then Ents in the finals. They also beat FaZe and North early in the group stages. They took a second at CS Summit 4. That was, stopping them from having the 4 tournament wins in a row. Of course, they lost to Vitality in the finals here. They got their revenge on them, though, of course, here in Cologne to win the Grand Slam and win themselves their title. And then the way that they started the Grand Slam, of course, is when they won IEM Sydney, where they were beating teams like Big, NIP, Made in Brazil, and Fnatic in a very close 3-2 best-of-5 series. So that was a little bit more of a nail-biter than the more convincing finals appearance, I guess you could say, against Vitality. And so a team that had often struggled to do much in finals, particularly because how many times they met up against Astralis last year and how down Astralis was, but it wasn't just Astralis, of course. We talked about how they had lost to FaZe before, they had lost to Mousesports, of course, at ESL One New York. It seems like all those problems are way in the rearview mirror at this point. I mean, it's just kind of crazy to think that this team has now played 9 tournaments together. Of those 9 events, they made the finals 8 times. That's insane. So at least second place in 8 out of 9 tournaments. and then they've won 5 titles out of their 8 finals appearances. I mean, this is a huge improvement in how they handle final situations compared to, where they were at last year. And obviously some of this is because Astralis has fallen off so much, but it's also just because Liquid has gotten better. I mean, I would argue that Astralis hadn't fallen off yet when they beat them at iBuyPower Masters 2019, and maybe you could factor in tournament conditions for that. But nonetheless, I mean, they are now, beating up on everybody. There's a couple of teams like Vitality and Intu have map advantages against them if you go head-to-head that way, but no team in the top 20, top 30, what have you, have a series advantage against Team Liquid. I mean, they've gone 1-1 basically against Vitality and Ints. Always a revenge performance as well. Ints obviously knocking them in the quarterfinals of the IM Katowice Major, which is the one time that Liquid have not made a finals out of their 9 lands played. But then again, they got revenge against Ints later on, of course, in the finals appearance at DreamHack Masters Dallas, after they split matches against each other in groups at CS Summit 4. And they had a tie in a group stage at a Blast or something like that as well. So I think it's overall has the map advantage history, but Liquid's gone toe-to-toe with them in series and has beat them in the most recent series they played. And then Vitality, it's the same story. They lost to them at CS Summit 4, where they got blitzed by Vitality in all 4 matches they played against them, but then they show up here and they get their revenge at Cologne in the grand final. So really crazy stuff there from Team Liquid. I mean, the tournament results really speak for themselves, thinking about how often they're able to make finals, how they've been able to, always be able to have a head-to-head advantage in series, except for Vitality and Ints, where it's even. I mean, at this point, they have played 102 maps offline. They are 75, 1, and 26, which means they've won 74% of their maps played offline. They've played, I think, 29 best-of-3 or best-of-5 series, and they have won 25 of those 29, so they're in the 80s% when it comes to win rate for series, 86% to be exact. Not only that, but in their 26 map losses, the 102 games, they've only been denied double digits 7 times. So, I mean, their results really speak for themselves at this point when you think about tournament finishes, their map win rate, their series win rate, all of that good stuff. Then when you shift over to their map pool, they have just a crazy deep map pool. I mean, they're 17-6 on Dust 2, so very respectable win rate on that map. On Inferno, they are overall 10-4, but you must understand that they lost their first 3 out of 4 games. So in reality, I think they're, 9-1 in their last 10 games played or something like that. Then they are 12-4 overall in Mirage, but they lost 3 of their first 5 games on that. So, of those 4 losses, 3 came in their first 5 games. I think right now they're roughly 11-1 or something like that. I'm trying to do quick math here. So really dominant performances on Inferno Mirage when you look at their last 10 or 12 games on each map. They are obviously, really, really strong on Overpass, 20-5 on that map. Did 11-5 on Nuke. They don't play Train, and the few times they've had to play Vertigo, they've won it all 3 times they've played it offline. So they have their permaban of Train, and then they can literally play the other 6 maps just fine. They are particularly down on Overpass, with their Inferno Mirage win rates here lately are really insane, and their Nuke and Dust 2 is also incredibly strong. And if you want to fuck with them on Vertigo and take that risk, they're going to be able to win that as well. So we really haven't seen very many teams in CSGO history that have had map pools this deep. I mean, obviously Astralis of last year, you could point that out. Navi had a really deep map pool last year as well. Certainly, like some of the Brazilian teams of the past, like, the Luminosities and SKs, those teams had really deep map pools. Same with Fnatic when they were super dominant, like 2014, 2015. But yeah, not many teams in CSGO history really have been able to stack up a map pool like this. Especially in the modern era, if we're not going back to like NIP's crazy dominance of 2012, 2013. So absolutely fantastic stuff on the results front and the map pool front. If you want to talk about individual performances, it's also really crazy stuff. I mean, Elige, these last few events, he is hitting like career high numbers and career high levels of impact. He's always been considered a really consistently strong player within the North American region for years, but the level of performance he's given you this year is really crazy stuff. He's actually 4th overall for rating this year so far, 7 months in, so he's definitely going to be in the HL top 20, probably going to be in the top 5 if he keeps up this pace. He's also top 5 in many different categories, such as like number 2 in damage per round, number 4 in kills per round, number 3 in total assists, number 2 in opening kills. He has 2 HLTV MVP medals now after going so long without a single one. He's now won 2 very, very recently. And Twist has been literally on his heels the entire time, particularly in these last 5 to 6 lands. Twist easily could have been challenging Elige for MVP medals. Like he was so close. He's actually does have 1 HLTV TV MVP medal this year. He's number 8 in overall rating for the year, number 2 in clutches, number 3 when it comes to percentage of rounds in which he got either a kill, assist, survived, or was traded. So really fantastic numbers from Twist. Also just the eye test on this guy. Incredible clutch plays. He also leads in some headshot statistics categories, which I don't really put too much weight in, but it certainly can kind of explain his highest skill ceiling, his mechanics, his ability to hit incredible shots. You see it time and time again, whether it's in early or late round situations. Fantastic talent. Now, Naf is actually slightly ahead of Twist overall for the year when it comes to HLTV rating. Also is in top 5 in many categories, such as being number 1 in total assists, number 3 in assists per round. He's tied for 2nd for clutches. I believe that's actually with Twist. So 2 of Team Liquid's members here are in the top 5 for clutches one, which again shows that versatility of not only being strong earlier in situations, but being able to clutch. Particularly someone like Twist, who can be very much known for creating openings, particular to the map that he's playing. So really incredible stuff there. And look, Nitro and Stewie 2K are both also in the top 20 for rating, are close to it. Someone like Nitro actually is in the top 5 in the world right now for clutches one. And then Stewie is actually number 3 in total opening kills for the year for LAN play. And of course, this is filtered for LAN play only for top 30 teams. So incredible individual talent. And not only is this individual talent just the stats that are on the page, but it's also something to do with just the incredible amount of role flexibility that you have on these players. I mean, you have Nitro, who has developed into a fantastic in-game leader who is capable of calling multiple different styles of play, while also being a primary opper on the majority of maps and sides, I guess you could say. Obviously, there's 4 players in this team who use the AWP on a pretty regular basis, but he would use it, I guess, the majority of the time. But he's also still in his roots that insane kind of entry fragger that can create these big openings with the rifle, can just kind of snap one round and create 3 entry kills and basically win his team the round by himself. He probably is the best fragging in-game leader right now if we're talking about current form. So all those things he's able to do is pretty incredible stuff. And then you look at someone like Twist. Twist is going to be a guy who's very active on certain maps as kind of a secondary entry, like him and Elish can be kind of the main entry duo, for instance, on Dust 2. But then there's maps like, let's say, Inferno or Mirage, where he's a little bit more of a peripheral role player. Mirage likes to play the B apartments. On Inferno, he likes to play the apartments as well, but he can create action on the edges of the map. He can sometimes go and look for an opening, go to look for a play while they're fighting for control somewhere else. So he's so flexible, and when he can turn on the aggression and be a part of the entry pack, or when he can kind of play these solo spots, kind of hold angles, catch kills, catch rotations, lurk when he needs to, or just be a part of a swarm and trade style when Liquid wants to just get really assertive and just kind of throw 5 players into a bomb site and just overload it. I mean, when you have Stewie, Elige, Nitro, Twist, Naf even in his own right was known as a bit of an entry fragger when he played for Renegades and at times for this team. Just the fact that you have that many players that are capable of doing entry work, running into a bomb site together, who cares who falls first? The follow-up is always going to be there with another very capable player at creating openings, and Twist is very much a part of that. You look at someone like Elige, at certain times, yeah, he can kind of play by himself and play a little bit more passive and kind of wait for the kills to come to him or cut off rotations, but again, we were talking about it. He can kind of be a guy creating a lot of entries on a map like Dust 2. And in particular, he's going to be helping out Stewie 2K create openings on Banana, on Inferno, or Mirage. He's very, very active at fighting up middle and into connector and creating openings in his own right. Definitely has those roots of being an entry fragger. You see that a lot on this team as well. And then we talked about how incredible his form has been. So his flexibility is absolutely fantastic stuff. You talk about someone like Naf. I mean, Naf, yeah, he's a guy that can play a lot of solo roles, like solo long A on Dust 2, or maybe playing outside B on Overpass, or playing outside the A-bomb side on Mirage. I guess he's kind of the more consistent player when it comes to playing peripheral roles on most maps. But again, when they go for a fast-paced execute, he can be in the mix and he can create plays. There are a couple of maps where he'll do some opping, like I guess the most prevalent ones would be T-side Inferno or CT side Dust 2. So he definitely shows you that capability of bringing AWP into play. He's super clutch. He's one of the most clutch players in North American history as far as how he handles 1vx situations. I mean, we talked about how, he is sitting in the top 5 for clutches won this year, and that's something he's consistently been very powerful at. Really crazy stuff. Then you have someone like Stewie 2K, who is just that X factor. Like, yeah, he himself is a very active player, very much an entry fragger. You see it on Banana Control, on Inferno. You see it on other maps as well, like Mirage at middle, or some of these other positions that he plays on default. You also see his opping become a really big factor. It's been huge for this team on their CT side Mirage, and it's also been something that's been really powerful for them on their T side Dust too. So he's a guy that can be super assertive, and he's just that playmaker. Like, he's the one that can go for the wild play. He can go for something that's really risky, but if it works, it creates so much. And even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't really necessarily hold his team back, if that makes any sense. Again, I think he's just the X factor player. I think he's the player that kind of kicked everyone into gear. I think Adren's coaching is probably a big part of that. But one big thing that you can follow from Team Liquid this year is the fact that I felt like the thing they fell prey to a lot in the past was that sometimes they just wouldn't pull the trigger. They'd be a little bit too timid. They'd want to save more than they should. They would maybe get the initial map control, or they just had that spark they needed to kind of kick their asses into actually going to the site and trading efficiently, or making the right call at the right time. A lot of times when they would just wait too long and things would kind of crumble, and teams would start to rotate and get information, then they'd be stuck. And it feels like now, while they do have a play style that is capable of still being slow in default, I feel like they lean a lot more towards slamming the gas pedal now. I feel like they're a much more assertive and aggressive team than they ever were before. I think a lot of that is probably Stewie 2K's influence, and also something I know Adren wanted to bring to the table when he got hired on as a coach. It's something that he talked about in interviews, something I talked about him privately, where that's something he really wanted to kind of fix on this team. He's like, we have all these skilled players. I feel like we should just be owning people. We should be treating things sometimes like we're a FaZe or like we're a 2015 Fnatic, where we have all this skill. Let's leverage it. Let's get into bomb sites. Let's work fast paced. Let's be aggressive. Same thing with some of their CT side pushes on certain maps. Let's get in people's faces. And the fact that they have so many players who can do opening work and all that role versatility. Again, we talked about how many different players can use ops and how it can be somewhat dependent on feel and confidence, but also somewhat map dependent. There are some patterns there that I've tried to kind of list through on who you can kind of expect to use the op depending on the map inside, but it is a little bit free flowing. Team Liquid's overall style is some weird hybrid of what Astralis has been since last year, and kind of looking at a team like a 2015 Fnatic, or like what FaZe wants to be and has been in the past, where they can play the slow style, but they also just have this crazy role flexibility that we've already kind of mentioned. And unlike Astralis, they don't have set roles across the entire map pool. Like, I know exactly what position every player on Astralis is going to play on every single map, and it's pretty consistent across the entire map pool what types of roles each player is going to play. The thing is even though that, it was so hard to beat them because they were just so fluid in that system. They had such good chemistry. They could mask things. They could, make things look like something that it wasn't. And because they were able to play these defaults out so well and do these mid-round reads, you never knew what they were going to do in the mid-round. So you could kind of counter them and kind of know, I know this guy likes to do this and play this spot and all that. But it was just so efficient. And again, their mid-round adjustments that they could make, the audibles that they could call, was what really helped them get out of being counter-stratted. Liquid kind of has that, but it's not across the entire map pool. Each map, you can kind of know, okay, this guy's likely going to play this spot because it's this map, but it's not a consistent role across the entire map pool. Not only that, but the way they can flip a switch and switch positions, like, it started out like Stewie 2K playing B tunnels on Dust 2 and Nitro as the primary opera, but now you've seen that kind of swap around a little bit, and that's only really happened in the last couple of months. That's really become solidified, and they keep doing these little swap arounds, and normally I would be really cautious to want that to happen, because I feel like that could kind of maybe kill muscle memory, or kind of kill your chemistry or your patterns or your routines, what you're used to doing, and kind of maybe throw you a little bit off guard. But they've been able to be so fluid with it and not ever really be punished by maybe a lack of muscle memory or something like that. It just seems to work just because their players are so capable. And again, because they have so many players who are capable of doing entry work, when that opportunity strikes on a certain location of the map, any player on this team is capable of taking advantage of that opportunity and then rolling that into some type of, quick reactionary CS where they just, hit something and then boom, it's a chain reaction because that player found an opportunity on his position and that just unlocked everything. This is definitely a team that has a great mix of just free-flowing aggression, but also running it in when they need to. Again, being able to have default positions set up for each map when they need to go that type of play. And then, some of their faster pace executes, their utility use just can be really, really strong. Yeah, I mean, they have every element of CS in their arsenal. And again, very similar to what Astralis was, but they just happened to lean a different direction. Again, they seem to be a bit more aggressive and certainly don't play default as much as Astralis would last year. And again, the role flexibility, the swapping around that they can do with players from map to map is something that Astralis never really did or was capable of. And so it makes it really hard to read what Liquid's going to do to you. And I think that this mixture of having a Dren who is a very tactic-focused coach with someone like Nitro has really evolved into an incredible in-game leader. That's a really a match made in heaven, especially considering that you also can throw Stewie 2K into the mix, who has his own experience as being an in-game leader, has his own ideas, his own philosophy on the game. And as long as everyone kind of, makes compromises and, people are able to talk through things, figure out what's best and kind of roll off of each other, they're going to have such a diverse approach to the game that's going to be very hard to adjust to, very hard to read into, and it means that Liquid is going to be able to constantly make tweaks as they need to stay successful. That's really a great formula for long-term success. And I mean, I've kind of already talked through the results. I've talked through their map pool. I've talked through some of the individual statistics. I've talked to some of their accomplishments, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, this Liquid team has done something no North American team's been able to do in CSGO's history over the last 7 years, which is have an era, have a period of time where they very clearly were the best team in the world and have built something that is going to go up against other greatest of all time candidates when you look at the team list throughout CSGO's history and into CSGO's future. Again, we don't know how long this Liquid era will last, but it certainly has gone on for a while now. I mean, 9 events with 8 finals appearances and 5 titles. It's just really cool to see that Liquid has, for so long been in Astralis' shadow, and now they've been able to step into the light and kind of claim their own time period. And I think that's just really cool stuff, really cool for NACS, really cool for international CS in general, great for some of these players who have been hanging around for so long. And really, I feel like all that's left for this team to do is win a major and just kind of keep their era persisting. I mean, that's really the only 2 things this team has left to kind of prove to people. They've already won big events. They've already shown that they can finally get past choking in finals. They've already had this crazy Grand Slam accomplishment and kind of just a pacing that was insane. No one expected them to be able to do it in 63 days. It's kind of mind-blowing to really think about what this team's accomplished, particularly over these last couple of months, but really what they've been able to do since the beginning of this year. I mean, obviously we're only 7 months into it, but they have quite the resume for that time played. So yeah, I just want to kind of take the time to talk about some of the cool stats, some of the results, some of their strategy, some of what these players are showing us, and really just talk about the crazy accomplishment that Liquid pulled off by winning Cologne and winning the Grand Slam. And I mean, at this point, who knows what their limit's going to be, but they certainly look to be the number 1 team for quite some time now until some of these other teams really shape up. And there's certainly challengers out there. Ince is really strong. Vitality is really strong. If Astralis can get their act together, they obviously are going to still be a team that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And there's plenty of other teams you can talk about here that are certainly putting in some good work in their own right. But Liquid has been able to topple all of them the majority of the time and become that number 1 team. So that's it for me in this video. Hope you folks enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe for more content. Catch you next time.